So, what is Babylon? Where is Babylon? And how do we flee from her? Babylon originally was referring to the city of Rome, which was both a city and a nation, the city being representative of the nation, and it's still the same in terms of present-day Babylon. If God had brought to pass the events of the last times, of the last days, shortly after he gave John the revelation, then Rome would have indeed been the fulfillment of Babylon. However, he did not, and so we find ourselves now in the present day. And for the present day, the only nation that fits that description is America, the United States of America. As far as what city represents Babylon, could be New York City. Seems most likely in terms of what is described in the revelation pertaining to Babylon. So that's the short answer. The United States of America. And no, it's no longer Rome, although at one time it was. Like I said, if God had brought to pass those events that are prophesied in the book of Revelation at the time that he gave the revelation to John, when Rome was the superpower of, the world, in a sense, then Rome would have been the fulfillment. Rome would have been Babylon, but it's not any longer. God's not going to bring Rome back to some kind of glory to make it fulfill what is written in the Revelation. It's no longer Rome. It's not the Vatican. It isn't Rome. It is the United States of America. There simply isn't any other nation that fits that description. Just as Rome fit the description in the time of John, America fits it now. So, question number 2, how do we flee from Babylon? Perhaps you have an image of a lot of people, heading for the hills with suitcases, but here's the thing. I think that maybe Christians have a tendency to focus on the physical above the spiritual and put the physical before the spiritual. When God is saying, come out from among her, come out of her, my people, and the Bible is clear about what he's talking about, and it's a spiritual separation. It's not a physical flight. I mean, a lot of unholy and carnal Christians can run from the United States and go to other nations, but they're carrying Babylon with them in their hearts. So what's the point of that? So in terms of fleeing from Babylon, start with the spiritual, and God will direct you in terms of the physical. If and when there is an appropriate time to physically get up and out of the United States, for Christians, God will make sure that that happens and that you know what to do at that time. Don't fret over that. That should not be your first and foremost concern. God's not going to destroy Christians along with unsaved people when he brings his judgments on Babylon. So if you happen to be there at the time, in the midst of Babylon, you don't have to worry about God forgetting that you're there. He's not going to destroy you along with the wicked. So it's not something you need to be concerned about. What you should be concerned about is making sure that you are separate from Babylon in heart. Because if you're not, it's that much more likely that you're going to forsake the Lord during the time of testing, and therefore the judgments that fall on the rest of the unsaved will also fall on you. So that's the short answer. I'm sure you can certainly, and I suggest that you do, look into both of these things more on your own. But hopefully that just clears up some of the misconceptions that people have about what Babylon is, where Babylon is, and how to get out of Babylon. It's not as dramatic as some people make it out to be. It's just not as exciting as things, usually are when you're talking about spiritual things. The physical is far more exciting than the spiritual, but the spiritual is much more important than the physical. So I hope that gives you some guidance in terms of your own walk with the Lord at this last hour and preparing your hearts for the end of all things.